Go, sing.
Sing.
Now go, Now I just go, How's your day? How's your day? Okay. This piece of music was commissioned by the Sultan of Dubai in 2002. And I'll tell you what the Sultan said. He wasn't very happy. He didn't like it very much.
Actually, many of the things that we do online are very similar to many of the things that we don't do online. And depending on whom you're speaking to, you might identify with people. For example, things that you might see online in trying to learn an instrument, you might realize that people have been doing for years and years and years by watching videotapes, for example. The fact that certain people that write about education, that not necessarily do education, might find as novelties, doesn't necessarily mean that they are actually novelties. And I think that for me, having been able to see the issue from different perspectives, the main and the most important aspect is the fact that learning, the way modern educational theories understand it, is socially located. There used to be a kind of concept or a notion that people are empty vessels or tabula rasa, where a very competent educator kind of shoves knowledge into their brains. But this, hopefully and gladly, is not the reality anymore. And modern educational research has demonstrated that learners are their own teachers, are their own learning coordinators, and the best way to enable and facilitate learning is to actually enable someone to inquire, to challenge realities, challenge certainties, and develop. And a competent educator's role is to actually enable and facilitate this journey. It's not just to shove knowledge into them and dictate how the thing is going to work.
A lot of the stuff I do is on interactive interfaces for music, so sound installations or new musical interfaces. And a lot of the research into it seems to be driven by people who want to make easy musical instruments or easier musical instruments. They have a lot of fun making music themselves, and they see a lot of people can't play an instrument, but they think they would enjoy it if they made an instrument that was just much more accessible and easy to use. And in my opinion, and I think it's not an unusual opinion, it rarely works. And also I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they assume that music is an activity that is just about somebody creating a particular sound, and how it sounds is what's important. But they often neglect to consider how that sound is evaluated and what it means in a social context.
I wouldn't be able, even after years of researching it, to generalize and assess the simplicity or the complexity or the potential of a tool in a discussion about learning.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the problem. And I really can identify with what you say. The problem in education, at a high educational level, is that you also need to think about how to understand this in order to take it, give it to others, in order to take it further, in order to be able to change people's lives. So, although I do identify with that, and I might be even more passionate about it as a jazz guitarist, for example, as an educator, I might be offended by it. Or
don't interpret what I said as saying technology has no place in helping people to explore musical things, but I think my point is more that if you assume that it's going to do it by making everybody able to do the same thing, then the value will be much less, in my opinion, than if you find a way to present technology to allow people to take creative ownership over what they're doing.
That's created for it. And if you create great content or great projects and you have good ideas, then that's going to work. And all you've got to do is look at every single channel, major channel that's out there. And, you know, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, you know, you go to any of those and you can find incredibly rich, life-changing content, and you can find utter as well.
And you know, I was thinking about that as well, because it's like YouTube has quite revolutionised traditional instrumental tuition in the way that as a flute teacher, for example, I can instantly pull up a load of examples of a piece of music, we can have discussions, we can talk about it. And I was thinking about, you know, sort of YouTube videos that teach you how to play this and that. And of course there's some shocking ones, but actually, you know, you've spent no money doing that. Whereas you might pay for a teacher who is awful. You know, there are human beings that are not very high quality, the same as there are YouTube videos that are not very high quality, and vice versa. There are some, you know.
plus there's the other very interesting aspect that you see that different notions, different concepts develop in different ways because the technology enables them to do that. And what I mean by that is something very simple. I mean, in a curriculum, you would have different kinds of quality control measures. If you're delivering a course at the university, you will be assessed in many different ways.
But you can pay 20
popularity of YouTube and votes, and thumbs up and thumbs down, is a completely new concept that, exploited in a different way, becomes on its own right an amazing quality control. If I go and try to see how to play a particular jazz chord progression, for example, and I'll see that there are 200 videos on there, but I see that one video has 250,000 downloads and all of them are thumbs up, then I will start realizing that this is a novel way of exploiting a completely new channel or modality or medium. That's one of the educational jargon. They would separate things into modalities, channels and media, and realize that you can use things that were not actually invented for that particular reason, or were not designed or conceived for that particular purpose, and use them in order to foster meaningful education.
They had an online version. I'm not exactly sure how it worked out. All I can remember, and I may be completely wrong about this, but I don't think it was that great, because you need to have someone in the room with you telling you how to use this technology and to guide you through it in the same way that you could buy a treadmill to run on. But unless you've got guidance from a personal trainer, you're not going to make the most of good technology.
Everything that we use in the mainstream musical education content, which is the paper, printed paper, the metronome, the piano, the tuning fork, are semantically of exactly the same class as iPad and Guitar Hero.
I worked for edXL as a moderator on the music GCSE composition paper, and a section of marks can be allocated for music technology. and we were given clear instructions that just using Sibelius to put your notation down is not music technology. And of course, you know, you're in a situation, I work with a lot of class teachers who believe that they're using music technology because they've got a Sibelius package, and then the kids are then writing stuff that isn't fit for purpose without an understanding of perhaps how that's going to sound in the embodied experience, that real experience of the music. And I think that's quite an interesting thing.
I was a classroom teacher as well for 8 years. I taught 11 to 18-year-olds. And quite often the work that you get out of people who have no musical knowledge was far less, it was completely uninhibited in many cases compared to those people who were really worried about some of the minutiae and getting certain things right, and they got focused on that. And that maybe was my fault as a teacher in that particular instance. But people just they had an aim and an ambition to tell a story, to express themselves, and that's where I think technology can come in, because really hugely, I mean, especially with special needs learning and things like that, you're basically using this technology, creating this technology to facilitate a creative process in some regards.